Hello, I'm Lisa Zhang, and I'm a physician and life coach. So in this video, I'm going to go over real estate funds and how that's a little different from syndications. So with a real estate fund, you may actually be investing in multiple syndications. And this is a way to give you diversification into many different investments. So when you invest in a single syndication, you're investing into a single investment project in a single building. And so, there's some risks in that particular investment may not go well, and you may potentially lose your money on that investment. Whereas when you're investing in a fund, then you're investing in someone who's actually either doing multiple properties, and so they're putting all those properties in one fund. So the person running the fund may actually be a syndicator, but they just do really high volume, and so they've got projects going all the time, and they're grouping those projects into a fund. Or you may be investing in a fund where people are selecting syndications that they aren't running. And so they'll look for the best syndication projects out there, and they'll invest into those syndications. And then you've got multiple syndications within the fund. So the benefit of a fund is, of course, more diversification. And so you've got investments in more syndications, and chances are, most of them are going to do well. And if you've got one that's a loser, then you still may overall end up having a good profit. The downside of investing in a fund is that you really have no control over what properties are in that fund. So typically what happens is a fund will open, and in the beginning of the fund, there won't be a lot of properties in the fund, but whoever's running the fund is collecting money for the fund, and then they'll buy into syndications as they receive capital. So often when you buy, early on the fund, you might get actually better terms because you don't actually know what you're investing in. Over time, they start buying into different syndications. And so when you look at a fund, if you're investing late in the fund, then they've already made several purchases of different syndications. And so now you can actually see what syndications have been purchased in the fund. But at that point, they may actually give you different terms where you're not getting as much of a return as if you had gone early on. And it totally depends. Like, there's no set rule on how any of this works. It's all about like who is running the fund and what parameters they're using. The other thing about a fund is because there are multiple syndication investments in the fund, that they can be across multiple states. And so you may end up having to file multiple state income taxes when you are in a fund. Whereas if you're investing in a specific syndication, then you're going to know exactly where that property is. And so that you could potentially like group your properties into one state, so you're not having to do state filings in all different states. There are some states that don't have a state income tax like Texas and Nevada. So, you may like stick with a lot of your syndication investing kind of in those states to not have to deal with a state tax filing issue. But by having that syndication, like I said, you'd have more diversification, and but you also don't have direct access to the sponsors. And so you're not talking to the people actually necessarily doing the investments. Even if you're investing with a big firm where they are the ones doing the different investments, typically the people you're talking to in the investor relations is not the same people as the people kind of actually running the different investments. So those are some pros and cons of investing in funds. And so those real estate funds are funds that actually invest in syndications. There are other funds that actually invest in debt, real estate debt funds. And in that case, they're the ones that are investing kind of the mortgages, the money that's being lent out for a syndication. So that's kind of a different beast there. So I hope you find this information useful and helpful in order for you to grow your wealth. If you would like some help growing your wealthy mindset, I'd love to work with you. So people I work with are people who are interested in growing their wealth. And, it can be from just learning the basics of personal finance, or, getting to that point where they've got their investments in their stocks, bonds, mutual funds, index funds, but they want to branch out into things like real estate and syndications, and would like to just, kind of learn more and do some more hand holding or coaching on that. So that is something I can work with you with. If you're interested in working with me, just go to my website, growyourwealthymindset.com, and set up a consultation call. It's totally free. we can talk about where you're at, what you're doing and where you'd like to go. We can talk about different types of investments and what will work with you for your risk profile, for what would match what your investment goals are. So have a great day. Thanks for watching.